We don't see things as they are. We see them as we are. This saying captures one of psychology's most powerful illusions, the halo effect. The halo effect is simple to describe, but enormous in its influence. When we notice one positive trait in a person, especially something visible and immediate like physical attractiveness, we unconsciously assume they must have other positive qualities as well. If someone is beautiful, we may also assume they are kind, intelligent, trustworthy, or successful. If they're well-dressed and confident, we may assume they're competent. In short, one good trait casts a halo over everything else, and the reverse is also true. If we notice a negative trait, an unusual look, awkward speech, poor hygiene, we may assume the person is also less intelligent, less moral, or less capable. Psychologists call this the horn effect. Together, these biases shape not just our impressions, but our institutions, our laws, our economies, and even our cultures. The term halo effect was first coined in 1920 by psychologist Edward Thorndike. Studying how military commanders evaluated their soldiers, Thorndike noticed a striking pattern. If a soldier was rated highly in one area like physical appearance or strength, the commander was far more likely to give them high marks in completely unrelated areas like leadership ability or intelligence. One positive impression bled into everything else. A single glow of approval became a halo. Over the next century, psychologists discovered that this effect is everywhere. We don't just evaluate soldiers this way. We evaluate teachers, co-workers, leaders, friends, even strangers on the street. And the most powerful halo of all is physical attractiveness. The What is Beautiful is Good study. In 1972, researchers Dion, and Walster conducted a landmark experiment. They showed participants photographs of people who had been rated as attractive, average, or unattractive. Then they asked the participants to rate the personality traits of the people in the photos. The results were clear. Attractive individuals were judged as more intelligent, more socially competent, more kind, and more likely to have successful marriages and careers. In other words, beauty was equated with goodness. The bias was so strong it shaped predictions about a person's entire future. This became known as the "what is beautiful is good" stereotype, and it has been replicated in study after study ever since. In schools and classrooms, the halo effect begins early. Teachers, often without realizing it, form higher expectations for students they perceive as attractive. In one study, teachers gave higher marks to essays when they believed the writer was physically attractive, even though the essays were identical. Expectations matter. A child who is expected to succeed often receives more encouragement, more patience, more opportunities. A child expected to fail may be given less attention or harsher criticism. Over time, the difference compounds. This is how attractiveness bias becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. It doesn't just change how we see people, it changes what they become. In work and business, the halo effect is powerful in the workplace. Studies show that attractive people are more likely to be hired, more likely to be promoted, and more likely to be paid higher salaries. In one study, resumes with photos of attractive candidates received significantly more callbacks than identical resumes with less attractive photos. Another study found that for every increase in physical attractiveness, salaries rose by several percentage points. Over a lifetime, this difference adds up to tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. The bias is not limited to hiring. Managers often assume attractive employees are more competent, even when their actual performance is average. Attractive leaders are seen as more persuasive. Attractive salespeople close more deals. Beauty becomes currency, traded invisibly but powerfully in the economy, in courtrooms and politics. The halo effect even reaches into the justice system. Research shows that attractive defendants are less likely to be convicted, and when they are convicted, they tend to receive lighter sentences. In one study, participants acting as jurors gave significantly shorter prison terms to attractive individuals compared to unattractive ones accused of the same crime. In politics, the effect is equally striking. Studies have shown that voters are more likely to support attractive candidates even when they know little about their policies. In fact, in some cases, facial attractiveness alone predicted election outcomes more accurately than political platforms. A quick glance at a photo was enough to sway votes. Why does attractiveness carry such power? Evolutionary psychology suggests that certain features, symmetry, clear skin, healthy appearance, signal genetic fitness, fertility, and health. Over thousands of years, our brains may have evolved shortcuts. If someone looks healthy and attractive, they might also be a good partner, a strong ally, a capable leader. But in the modern world, these shortcuts go haywire. Attractiveness tells us little about intelligence, morality, or competence. Yet our brains continue to make the leap. What was once adaptive becomes misleading. The horn effect. And just as beauty casts a glow, unattractiveness casts a shadow. The horn effect makes us assume that someone with one undesirable trait has many others as well. If a student looks messy, a teacher may also assume they are lazy. If a person is overweight, others may assume they are less disciplined. If someone speaks awkwardly, we may assume they are less intelligent. None of these judgments are fair, but they are common, and they can change lives. Advertising and media marketers have always understood the halo effect. Advertisements rarely focus only on the product. Instead, they attach the product to attractive people. A perfume seems glamorous when paired with a beautiful model. A car seems powerful when driven by someone confident and stylish. The glow of attractiveness spills over, making us believe, unconsciously, that the product itself is more valuable. The same happens in film and television. Attractive characters are cast as heroes, while unattractive characters are often coded as villains. From fairy tales like Cinderella to modern movies, beauty and goodness are linked, while ugliness and evil are paired. These cultural stories reinforce the halo effect in our minds from childhood. Self-fulfilling prophecy. The halo effect doesn't only shape how others see us, it shapes how we see ourselves. Attractive people, given more encouragement and positive feedback, often develop stronger confidence and social skills. They come to expect good treatment, and those expectations guide their behavior, making them even more socially skilled and successful. Meanwhile, those judged unattractive may receive less encouragement and more criticism. Over time, this can lower confidence, reduce opportunities, and even limit achievement. In this way, the halo effect doesn't just distort perception, it shapes reality, awareness, and resistance. So what can we do? The halo effect is not something we can eliminate entirely. It's built into our cognitive shortcuts. But awareness is the first step. When judging someone, ask, am I letting appearance influence me? When grading, hiring, sentencing, or voting, slow down and separate traits. Intelligence cannot be measured by beauty. Morality cannot be seen in a jawline. Competence does not glow from a symmetrical face. By questioning our first impressions, we loosen the grip of the halo. The halo effect may seem like a quirk of the mind, but it has enormous consequences. It influences who succeeds, who fails, who is trusted, who is ignored. It shapes schools, workplaces, politics, and justice. And it reveals something uncomfortable, that we are not as rational as we like to think. Much of our judgment is guided by unconscious bias, not evidence. But there is hope in this recognition. Once we name the halo effect, we can resist it. We can look past the glow, past the surface, and begin to see people as they are. Because in the end, the halo effect is not really about beauty at all. It is about blindness. It shows us how easily our minds are dazzled, how quickly we confuse appearance with reality. And it challenges us to slow down, to look deeper, and to see more clearly.